Right, guys, welcome along. It's an extra segment from the debrief. What we're going to be doing today is just a little short video on just recruitment, really, and where Leeds can go in terms of just players, maybe in the Premier League we're going to focus on. But specifically, we wanted to focus on Brighton. Just on the, basically, we know that Brighton's recruitment has been nothing short of excellent over the past however many years. O'Reilly coming in recently, and O'Reilly came in the same window as Jorginho Rutter. My God, imagine what to be a Brighton fan. My goodness, Oscar. I think we were saying it on deadline day, weren't they? When they brought them both in, we thought Rutter might fall through, but he didn't. They brought them both, and it was unbelievable. 70 million combined fee. So I think looking at them is probably a reasonable thing to do. Why? Because their pool of talent is extremely good. Bournemouth is another off chance because their recruitment is very, very good as well. And with Leeds having 3 loan spots available, I think me and you have sort of agreed that it would be very, very sensible for Leeds, if anything, just to focus on these 2 particular clubs. But you do feel there's going to be a lot of competition for them, Oscar. But are there any specific names, mate, that you want to reel out there?
Well, yeah, as you've kind of already mentioned, there's a lot of fantastic talent at Brighton. With those 2 signings, O'Reilly. I mean, you know how much of a fan of O'Reilly I was before even left Celtic, and obviously Rutter signed him as well. They've of course got João Pedro's come back from injury, so there's a lot of players who are not going to play many minutes in this Brighton team. And I think one of the first names that's just jumped out to me is that of Julio Enciso. Listen, I think he's far too good for the Championship. I'm not going to question that at all. But there's been many players who have been far too good for the Championship. And would Brighton's thinking be it'd be better for Julio Enciso to play? Sorry, I keep saying Enciso. To play a lot of more minutes, because he hasn't had that run of games really. We've seen the benefit that's had on Buonon. I can't believe that was a terrible attempt then. Buonanotte at Leicester. We've seen the benefit he's had just from playing sort of 10 games in a row. He's been Leicester's best player by a mile. So would Brighton have a similar kind of thinking with Enciso? Because he's not going to play many minutes this season, the way it's looking. There's so much competition in that 10 spot. I said on the other video in terms of the debrief that we need a player who can make something happen out of nothing. And Enciso is someone who does exactly that. And he does it at the Premier League level. So at Championship level, even more so. Can it be done? That's a different kind of question. But that is a name I'd look at and think, can we test the waters a little bit with that one? And I think definitely with someone like a Julio Enciso.
Well, interestingly, I mean, what a window this would be, but sort of Enciso, I think another name is obviously Evan Ferguson, 270 minutes played this season. Last season, he was the next big thing. And there was a lot of people saying, look, wait on when it comes to Evan Ferguson, because we didn't know what the trajectory would be. And there was a lot of plaudits, people saying that he was going to be on Erling Haaland's level. The physicality, the athleticism is there, the goal scoring prowess, but with only 270 minutes so far this season, Oscar.
Also,
are you going to get a Premier League team taking a risk on him? I don't think you will, because I think they'll want maybe a little bit more of a proven player. I would have maybe looked at an Ipswich, but then you look at Liam Delap and he's doing so well down there. 5 goals already this season? Could you maybe get Southampton going in for someone like that? I think you've got to look at maybe one of the 3 or 4 promoted clubs and maybe looking at an Evan Ferguson, but the next step down is Leeds United.
It absolutely is. And, out of those 270 minutes, he's only actually played 101 minutes in the Premier League. So he's actually inflated a lot by the League Cup in terms of those minutes. So, that is not a lot. Considering Pedro's been out injured, Matt O'Reilly's been out injured, Rutter didn't have the quickest of starts. There's been a lot of opportunities to play Evan Ferguson. He started 1 game in the Premier League, and that is quite telling to me. In terms of, Brighton haven't been rotating a lot this season at all. They've even been playing a 4-4-2 this season, and Ferguson still can't get many minutes. So, when I first saw and thought Evan Ferguson, that was like, no way. But when you think about it in that context, you think, surely they just want him to play minutes to get back on track, because it's very easy for Evan Ferguson now to have a season or maybe 2 seasons of not playing much football to fall off a little bit. In terms of even for Ireland, there's obviously a lot of Irish supporters who watch this channel who will mention, have said to me before when I've been to watch Ireland, they said, Evan Ferguson, there's been a big drop-off in the last year. So, that's not the best thing to hear in the world if you want to sign a player, but I think at Championship level, he bullies the Championship, to be honest. He is, someone who would really take the Championship by storm. And that's another one where, if it can happen, absolutely get it done, would be my response to that one.
Yeah, 100%. Another name that wanted to throw in there was Alex Scott, 8 Premier League games and a Carabao Cup. appearance this season. Alex Scott obviously was in Archie Gray levels of real trajectory when he was coming through, and obviously he's not been at Bournemouth long, but we know Bournemouth's recruitment is extremely good in that middle of the park. Lewis Cook, Christie, Semenyo, I believe it is, and amongst others. But another name to throw in there is Alex Scott. Back down to the Championship. I tell you what, Oscar, with the amount of minutes he's played, which is not a lot whatsoever, that is a very, very realistic one. Obviously previously at Bristol City, a loan signing to a top end Championship club is, for me, only going to help his development.
Absolutely, and 2 starts as well. So not a lot of starts. He has had opportunities to play, and in terms of Bournemouth haven't really took that this season. So definitely is a case of that. I think what I'd say about Scott is in terms of, is he a natural number 10? Because I've looked at Tanaka and Rothwell, obviously Ampadu and Gruev. There's so many different options who can play in that sort of midfield too. Can Alex Scott play high up the pitch? I think there's definitely a case for that. In terms of his assist output last season was crazy when he did play. That's on the eye and statistically. He was exceptional in that kind of regard. His creative play.
More of sort of an advanced state, isn't he? Not your sort of not your Enciso.
Well, you could change the system. I think
you could.
There's certain players where you say, Alex Scott, I think is that good. By the way, I think he's easily a Premier League footballer. You could easily say, all right, we'll go to a 4-3-3. We'll push Tanaka higher up, or Rothwell higher up. Have Tanaka sit in. Ampadu's coming back. Gruev's coming back. And have Alex Scott as like the more advanced state. There's definitely a case for that as well. So I think he's that type of player where you do work the system around him a little bit. That could definitely happen. Good on both feet, good work rate as well. Also wears his socks quite low, which is always the sign of an absolute baller. That is always the sign of an absolute baller. So it's there's so many positives to that one. And there's 2 other players I was looking at for Bournemouth. Do you want me to go to them, mate, next?
Let's do it. Yeah, you go. You go for one. I'll go for the other.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think we're on the same wavelength here, but I'll go to David Brooks as the next one. Obviously, he was at Southampton on loan last season. It didn't maybe go fully to plan, Southampton, in terms of he did have an impact, but it maybe wasn't quite in terms of minutes played what was kind of expected from David Brooks. And I think he was still great when he played for him. I don't think he started the playoff final even. I'm pretty sure he came on in that game. So that's quite telling to me. But I do think in a Farke system where the football we're playing at this moment in time against a lot of low blocks, we've seen him do it at Championship level numerous times. We've seen him do it at Premier League level. I think he's a fantastic player. He's still relatively young as well. He can play number 10. He can play on the right as well and cut inside from the right hand side. So there's a lot of different options with David Brooks, and he's played 44 minutes this season. And listen, Bournemouth have got so many great options in that 10 spot that it's going to be difficult for David Brooks to play. It's an interesting one from that regard, but certainly in terms of talent level and what he can produce on the football pitch and how much he'd suit us in terms of his style of play, I think David Brooks would be a lot more realistic than Enciso and Ferguson as well, just in terms of he's maybe already gone out on loan, so maybe Bournemouth are that way inclined already. He's already got experience last season of Championship football in terms of helping with a promotion push. I'd say David Brooks could. I feel like that feels realistic to me as well, not just like a dream sign. That feels quite realistic as well.
Yeah, stinks of Rothwell, doesn't it? Stinks of that sort of signing.
Yeah.
And I think for me that's probably the most realistic one. But one I'll throw into the hat as well is, and to round it off, is Phil Billing, the Yaya Toure of the Championship. Just legs for days. Attacking midfielder, central midfielder, defensive midfielder. He's done it all. 28 years of age, but just not played a lot of minutes this season. I don't think he'll play that many more minutes this season, next season, the season after, as long as Iriola's there. That for me, look, there will be other clubs in for him, no doubt, in Europe as well. As I say, prime of his career, but it feels like he comes to Leeds, Oscar, and it feels like that's your promotion card for me. That is the big statement signing, of which we've got to make sure Sheffield United, and we've got to make sure as well Burnley and Sunderland as well aren't able to make,
Middlesbrough as well. I mean,
but they're not able to make those moves that you feel.
Well, you look at Middlesbrough signing Ben Doak, for example. That shows to me, that's part of maybe the reason I kind of even started discussing this in terms of loans, is that it shows you that you know what, Championship level, that's still a very attractive level for these clubs to loan to. Liverpool have trusted Middlesbrough with Ben Doak's development. I mean, I don't know if you saw it for Scotland.
And that's why there's got to be a lot said for the name as well. I think Michael Carrick, I think Gibson, the chairman of the football club as well. It's a very, very, very good foundation for a young lad.
Of course, and I mean, you know, in terms of Leeds United, then Daniel Farke, to be fair, if you look at, say, for example, you know, at Norwich, you know, in terms of taking, you know, loan signings, you know, it's his name has just escaped me as well. I thought I was buying myself some time to remember his name. Oliver Skip, sorry, his name. I saw his face and I was thinking, name, Oscar, name. Oliver Skip obviously had an exceptional time at Norwich in terms of playing a lot of football. I think he was one of the Championship players of the season that season. So there is that. There's that, obviously, you know, group of work with Max Aarons, Jamal Lewis in the past, and to trusting younger players as well, under Daniel Farke, Archie Gray last season. So it's an attractive proposition, is all I'm saying with Leeds United. Of course, I think if you were going to sign a Ferguson or you know, someone like that, Ferguson or Enciso, I think there would be to be a guarantee of minutes from Brighton's side of things. But I'd have no real big issue with that because I think they're easily good enough for the Championship anyway.
Yeah, completely agree. Let's leave it there, mate. Where do you think is the most realistic way we go with those five? Who do you think sort of realistic? I'd probably go. Not 100% sure about Enciso. Could see him going somewhere on the European circuit. Definitely to a top club there. I think I'd probably Alex Scott. Would they want to keep him around a little bit more? I think so, being a young lad. But listen, him going out on loan would be you know, advantageous as well. I think the one that I'm looking at, and probably the one I'd like the most really is Phil Billing. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm totally with you as well. I think the Bournemouth pair is definitely the most realistic in terms of the top end of the pitch of Brooks and Billing. I just think the other three will either just be trusted by their clubs or will go to Premier League clubs or, you know, top European leagues in that kind of sense. I'm totally with you on that. I think, yeah, Brooks or Billing. I think I'd go Billing as well in terms of my preferred option. I think in terms of the pressing side of things from Billing as well, the ability to hold the ball up maybe suits us a little bit better. But I think Brooks as well would be fine. So one of the two would suit us very well for me.
Right, Oscar, it's been a pleasure, mate. We'll leave it there, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe in, and we'll see you in a bit. Cheers.